Good evening. Good evening,
Hello.
everyone. Welcome to the School of Conscious Evolution with myself, Daniela Flori.
Spirit, do you not want me to do this? Is that why this is happening? We are not involved with this, Gail. So I'm assuming that people can hear me. So Daniela has her internet has crashed. I was wondering if the people that are listening, if you can send a message so that I can see that you can hear. Oh, great, you can hear me. So I am the guest of this podcast, and I'm not quite sure what to say whilst I'm waiting for Daniela. But I can see the messages coming through. We've got Olga, we've got Kim and Diane, and we've got Stephen, and we've got Phil. So whilst we're waiting for Daniela's internet to come back on, I thought I would just sort of talk a little bit about spirit and being a medium, and see where we go with that until Daniela comes back on. Right. So first of all, how did I become a medium? What happened? So I suppose it all started when I was about 8 years old, and so I was 8, and I remember going off to bed, and I realized now I was sort of I'd lie in bed and I was going into the power, and it just seemed the most natural thing. And before I knew it, I was leaving my body. And it was like I was on an elastic band, because I'd get halfway down the stairs and it like ping back into the bed. So I never sort of went that far. And I used to do that sort of, night after night after night. And then eventually it just stopped and I just started living my life. There wasn't anything that I can specifically remember during my teens, but a key moment in my life was when I was 19. I'd had a boyfriend who was he was 2 years older than me, and and we were living together, and he unfortunately died. Oh, and we got Daniela coming on, and that was the first time that I stepped inside a spiritualist church after he passed.
Okay.
Hello.
No, I'm not quite sure why. Okay, can you hear me now?
I can hear you, yes.
Okay, wonderful. There is something, and then this,
And I can see you too.
you can see me too. Fantastic. Now I use the mobile phone. I've never used the mobile phone before, so thank you, everyone, for having been waiting for us. I was like, technology is what it is. So good evening, and thank you ever so much. Thank you, Anya. Thank you, Kim. Thank you, Olga. Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Phil. Thank you, everyone. Diane and Gail. Good evening, darling.
Good evening. I was just starting to tell them how I became a medium, but I sort of
fantastic. You I'll be quiet. Go on.
Well, I sort of was sat here and not knowing what to say.
Good, excellent. Well,
so I thought I would start the proceedings.
Go on. Carry on then.
So I was just telling everyone about how my boyfriend died when he was 21, and we were living together. And I was working with someone who used to go to a spiritualist church. I have to say, I thought that was the weirdest thing ever. Excuse me, everyone, I was 19. Anyway, so she said, well, why don't you come to the spiritualist church? You never know, you might hear from your boyfriend. And it was only, it must have been about 2 or 3 months after he'd passed. And sure enough, I went to the spiritualist church, and he did come through, and the medium actually gave me the nickname that I had for him that nobody else knew, which was quite incredible, really. Anyway, this afterwards, this woman said, you do know that you're going to be a medium, don't you? And you need to be coming to the church and sitting in circle. And anyway, so when I left, I thought, not blinking likely.
Yeah, you could say that at that point still.
That's not going to happen. This is just weird. And so a few years went by. I remember, and I'd get little things along the way. And I remember my husband, my ex-husband now, he said, oh, I don't like this. Please don't engage with any psychic or mediumship or anything like that. So the duration of my marriage, I never really sort of got involved with it. But then the moment we sort of parted company, and it was like the spirit world just descended upon me. And it was every moment of the day I was hearing things, I was seeing things. It's like I couldn't turn it off. It was just constant spirit communication coming through. And they basically said to me, you're ready now. We've been waiting for this moment. We're ready. And so that was in 2001. So then I started sitting in circle. It took me a little while to get to sit in circle. I used to sort of play with cards and do little private readings for people, but it was about 2006 by the time I got to circle. And then I ended up working on the platforms in the churches. I sit for trance. I do all the weird stuff that I thought was weird. In fact, I do even weirder.
You were doing weird things until they weren't weird anymore, right?
Yeah. To me, it's perfectly normal. What are you talking about?
Of course, yes, absolutely. And then you actually beautifully progressed into becoming a teacher at SAGB, running their education programs.
Yep, I did. I worked at the SAGB for about 3 years, and when you go, you go and you're there for the afternoon, and you might do private readings, and you do the demonstration, and then there'd be other days where you just teach. So
Yeah. And I just wanted to ask, so for anyone that is following us, and they feel they have some sort of connection to spirit, and they don't understand what to do with it, what would you tell them? What would you suggest they do?
Oh yeah, the girl that thought it was weird. So the first thing is quite important, is that you have some sort of guidance. And what I mean by that is that you are able to sit in circle with a tutor that knows what they're doing. And so and the first thing that needs to be done is you just need to learn how to get, you adjust your mind to get into, and we call it getting into the power, but you adjust your mind to get into that space so that you're able to connect to spirit. And I call it's like opening the door to the spirit world.
Absolutely. And, I find that a lot of people awakening, they are afraid, they got fear of the unseen.
Yeah.
Again, what would you suggest to them? Why shouldn't they be afraid or scared? And what should they do to familiarize?
The one thing that I can actually say is that I never felt scared. And I have come across people who are fearful of it. And I've even come across people that have ended up going to the doctors saying, I've got, voices in my head, and then getting medication like even, you know, which is, you know, quite challenging. If it was that they were a medium. So I think the best thing to do with anyone who thinks that they are able to connect to spirit, you must have the guidance of a tutor. But once you've got that guidance of a tutor, you will feel like it's the most natural thing. You will start to understand that you have that guide that protects you. You start to understand that the spirit world that come through, you are always protected. And when they come through in delight. And actually it's probably one of the greatest things that you will ever do in your life if you embark on this journey.
Absolutely beautiful. And and talking, you've just touched base on people that hear voices and they go to the doctors and they end up taking, well, this afternoon I have received an email from the dear, I'm missing the name of the college. It's a famous college in London. It will come to me. Imperial College.
Okay.
Saying that they're running an experiment. Not experiment, a research rather.
Right. Yes.
And they are contacting people that are mediums, that they say they can hear spirit, and they want to run some questionnaires to help them understand. And guess which department is dealing with it? The psychiatric and counseling department.
Wow.
And that because they say we want to understand to what point people that claim they can hear voice could be potentially clairvoyant or clairaudient, and they're not aware of that, and who actually are in need of medication. And I've just gone back to them on an email, and it's something difficult to do, particularly when you've been asked by a psychiatric department. And we all know that for a long time, people that could see spirit were considered to be crazy, effectively speaking, right?
Yeah.
So I made a disclosure that whenever we do evidential mediumship, we have the look at that. Phil is saying he's done a research for IC. Very interesting, worth doing. And they offer a nominal fee. Yes, very like a little thing. That's right. And thank you, Phil, for sharing that, because it makes me feel better. Makes me feel better for that as well. I did say that I would love to help them, because effectively speaking, there are people that one thing is hallucinations, for instance. And the other thing is like when spirit tell you something which is, some things could be dangerous. So if they say dangerous things, then maybe it's not spirit, right? We need to make the difference. But if but if they start, when spirit, I wanted to say, if that happens to you listening, let's put it that way, and you're not sure where you stand with that, you need to know the spirit will always come from a place of love.
Yeah.
And it will never, it never means to be of harm, cause harm to yourself or anybody else. And this is very important.
I actually believe that there are strong rules about how things are handled with people communicating through us. I think there is, I don't think that you are allowed to be detrimental to us.
No. But if someone is not involved minimally, I mean, I could see from my perspective when I was in my 20s, if someone talked to me about a spiritualist church, and being told that there are people in there talking to spirit, there is no way I would have walked in there.
Yeah, well, I did when I was 19.
But this is the first part of what I wanted to say. The second part is, provided you are that sort of person, and then you start hearing voices, then what you would do, you wouldn't go to a spiritualist church, you go to the doctor.
Yes.
And say, help me, I'm going crazy, right?
Yeah.
So we are talking about someone that is having reconnecting somehow in strange ways to spirit, and they don't know what to do with it. Okay.
I think you said something that was quite key earlier on, is that, you know, if you're sort of sound of mind in everything that you do, and you hear a voice that is always good, and is not telling you to do things that are detrimental to you or to others or unusual, then it's likely that it will be mediumship as opposed to
absolutely
a psychiatric disorder.
And I will tell you more. One of my newest students, 1-to-1, she's been in that exact position.
Yeah.
And she was saying, Daniela, I swear to God, you know, like it's spirit I hear, it's not my head, you know. And then she was afraid of certain things happening to her. And then she was like winding herself up. And she would end up having some panic attacks. And she wasn't sure what was going on with her. So I think that is a obvious example of when someone is in their own minds enough to contact a medium. And well, she's seen me in few events in the first place, and then during a public demonstration, I've given the proof of her grandma and so on and so forth. And then subsequently, she contacted me to be, you know, tutored. And led into this discovery of hers, because she always had it, but she didn't know what to do. But at the same time, she's kind of, she hears the messages, she can relate them, but then she's scared of them. So I just wanted to say, you know, like, I reassured her that she's safe, that she can continue working. I've given her guidelines and everything. Then hopefully when she'll come and see me next time, then we can carry on working on her mediumship and development. But at present, she is still growing into that little, you know, cocoon of the awakening stage, where it's not someone that has taken conscious, but she doesn't know what to do with it yet, basically. And it's quite interesting, you know. So, you know, she was panicking. I tried to touch base with her about once a week just to make sure she's fine, she's not panicking, you know. And that's the sort of care I would provide. And, you know, it's just like a duty of care. That's what I call it.
But I also think that if you're getting to the point where you're fearful and you are distressed by what is happening, if spirit are wanting to work with you and step forward, they try and find a way, and they won't want you to be distressed, but they will keep on trying, and they will use different angles to get there, because eventually they will want that communication, if that's your path. And if you're fearful, in a way you're putting blocks to it, and on the one hand, you don't want to put blocks to it, but also on the other hand, I don't want to not acknowledge somebody's fear. You know, if they're fearful, they're fearful.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do think that it would, you know, if they could be in the hands of somebody, like, it's really good that this lady's contacted you, Daniela, and is working with you, because she's doing it in the care of somebody who's experienced and knows what they're doing. And so I would say to anybody that's listening, have an open mind, but do everything with the care of a tutor.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally agree with you, you see. And as we were mentioning about the Imperial College running a test, you know, the thing is, it's how interesting that someone has thought, you know, is that real, you know, a mental health crisis or something else? And I feel that this is very much open-minded of them to be thinking along those lines, you know. But as I am aware that the Imperial College have run before tests of mediums. I recall that they have been doing even CT scans while people inside the machine was connecting to spirit to see how the different areas of the brains were activating. So there has been quite a bit going on this. So it's science meeting spirituality. Yeah.
I also understand that when you're, particularly with being a trance medium, but when you're a medium, your pineal gland, I think, becomes larger. Don't know how that works or what that means, but I have heard that that they've seen that under observation. So
yeah, and I've heard that there are various areas of the hippocampus which is memory based, and you know that it's switching on and off different areas, and so there are definitely things. But you know, like you remember, Gail, we've done I've done the Trance Mediumship workshop recently, and I was talking about the various brain frequencies of when we, you know, fall asleep, it's alpha. When we are a normal state of awakening, it's beta. And then theta is when we go into mediumship state and we shift completely, and trance mediumship in particular. So, you know, so I'm pretty sure that like so many doors, the brain will open and shut doors in order for the various frequencies to change, and you know.
And I've always understood that, you know, when you go into that space of being in the power, and you're opening the door, you're adjusting your mind. I've always understood it that I'm working from my subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind has areas of where areas of memory, which is why you can retrieve aspects of memory. So I do think that, you know, when we are working from a different part of our mind. And we always say, you know, we've got to get our conscious mind out of the way, don't we? You know, because our conscious mind is our most, you know, active part of our brain.
Yes, that's right. And so do you have any plans to, are you still teaching, first of all?
I am. I teach in 2 places on the South Coast, so in different churches.
Okay, wonderful. Okay,
yeah.
wonderful.
And I'm thinking of actually setting up a teaching for trance at home as well. So
Beautiful.
I'm thinking about it.
Beautiful.
The trouble is I'm starting to have very few days spare.
As it happens when you start going and going, and then that's what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, and which sometimes we end up overdoing it as well. And I had to learn quite quickly how to manage my time as a medium, because that's
I think I need lessons from you then.
well,
Yeah, I haven't quite worked that one out. Well, I do manage my time. I just work a lot all the time.
Okay. Yeah. Well, what I meant by managing time is that it's fine to be like doing, I don't know, people do mediumship circles, teaching, workshops. I do fairs, I do one-to-ones, I do readings, I do healing, What is that time that I dedicate to myself to actually switch off from everything?
Yeah.
And mind, I'm not talking about sitting down with spirit or meditating, because I have come to a point now where I don't need to sit on purpose to do all of that.
Yeah.
I have I have spirit always around me. They will chat on the side, like in the evening, I say, guys, unless it's an emergency, and I appreciate that at 3 o'clock in the morning could be an emergency, and you need to talk to me. Unless it's an emergency, don't wake me up. I need my they call it beauty sleep. My rest. I just need to sleep my hours, because otherwise I cannot be efficient, and very well that as a medium we do need to rest before each event, right? In order to connect better to spirit. So Phil is saying, I've had to learn how to pace myself and allocate time for me alongside work. So essential to switch off. Yes, that's
it is.
In a nutshell. That's in a nutshell. And I think it's so important.
Yeah. I find with myself, though, I get to the point where I just think, oh, I need a rest. And then I just sort of go. I'm actually going away to South Africa for 3 months at the end of October, and that's going to be my switch. I thought that'll be my switch off time, but I do have quite a strong connection with one of the churches there, and so I know I'm going to be doing work there. But it's only one church. Like it's, when you're here, you're doing lots of things. So I'll have lots of spare time as well.
Well, that is such a beautiful thing. When is it you're going? Very soon, before Christmas?
I'm going on the 30th of October and back on the 28th of January.
January, yes. Okay, wonderful. I know that in the past you have traveled to South Africa as well as the US and other locations for mediumship. So you're not new at traveling internationally for your work. So well done. And what a wonderful achievement.
I think my the place that I think is the most interesting place to go and work in is Japan. There, you have to have obviously you have to have interpreters as well, and so it's learning to speak and then pause so that the interpreter can say their bit, not keep on flowing through. You've got to you have to stop, start. but yeah, that's and they, you know, they're. I don't know if I can say this. There might be a Japanese person online.
Not that I'm aware of right now, but
Well, it's like they I remember during COVID, they asked me to do the centre that I'm attached to there. They asked me to do a Zoom meeting, and so they
mm,
had people in the audience sat, you know, apart from each other,
mhm,
and then they had people online, and they requested that I would go to the online, and then I would go to the people in the audience, and backwards and forwards,
mhm,
uh, and they stipulated that I must direct as well, of which I do anyway, so that wasn't a problem.
right.
um, but it was and it was sort of quite interesting, sort of how they, you know, you have to sort of observe their customs as well. I remember when I went there,
Mm,
you know, nobody wears shoes inside. You know, you
yeah,
must take your shoes off,
mm.
it, and
In a
and
sign
you
of respect, I suppose.
yeah, and so it's, you know, when you do travel, it's also about knowing their ways and things like that.
Mm,
And
sure, of course.
and with the Japanese, there's 100 different emails go backwards and forwards because they want to have everything precisely, know what's going to happen.
Wow. Okay. Okay.
But lovely
Interesting.
people, absolutely gorgeous people.
Yeah.
They're very sweet.
But they don't really have much religions there, is it? So it's quite
Um,
interesting.
no, they do. They have Buddhism, and then
Yeah.
they have what's known as a, is it Shintoism, where
Alcoholism.
and then yeah, those are the two main ones. But it's
Yeah,
mainly
Buddhism.
Buddhism.
Yeah.
Um, but you know, a lot of the Japanese are interested in spiritualism, and
Mm,
that's becoming quite big. But the difference of how they are there and how we are, is, you know, in England, it's been very much, you know, to give an evidential mediumship reading, so we give
yeah.
evidence,
Yeah.
whereas um, in Japan, they very much want to know, you know, psychic readings of what's going on in their lives. They're more
Mm,
interested
mm,
in
mm.
that.
Yes, yes. Well, that's probably like a door into the spiritualism, I
Yeah,
suppose.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like so many people have learned to do cards, tarot, and years later they end up being psychics and
yeah,
mediums, and
yeah,
So I suppose there is always a way to introduce,
yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that it's also spirit led and guided
Mm,
in a way. So Kim is saying it's Shinto and Buddhism. So,
yeah,
and yeah, so, but it was interesting. That's exactly what I wanted to ask is like, how do they perceive, mediums and spirituality? So it sounds like as if they very much opening up to this as well.
yeah. I think they're very open to it. And, you know, and the one thing about Buddhism is it's about, my understanding. So if somebody's a Buddhist here, they may have a deeper understanding, but my understanding
Mm,
is that it's about, being enlightened, and so with that connection of meditating, you become more
mm,
enlightened, and you
mm,
become wiser, so that you don't have to repeat, and come back and do another life.
mm,
That's
mm,
and I think, you know, there must be, if they're doing that, there must be some sort of downloads or some sort of information from spirit that they are receiving, in order
mhm.
for them to be more enlightened.
Yes, absolutely.
um,
And yeah,
but it would be more about, you know, wisdom of life, rather than, you know, I've got your grandmother here.
Yeah, I suppose it's that level of higher self rather than the door of the soul. So it's more of
Yeah.
the next level up, I
Mm,
suppose.
mm, mm.
Um, and so it's so very interesting, actually. Do you feel like giving a couple of messages? Because I'm aware that, we started late, but probably we could
Yeah.
do with doing a message or two giving away.
Yeah. Who would you like me to pick? Oh, um,
Oh, do you
I,
want me to pick? Um,
well, yeah, I guess somebody needs to, put in the chat that they want a message, and then I can pick you.
okay, yeah, sure, of
One.
course. So can you please put a text saying that you're open to receiving messages, please, so that we can choose from those people. So because we wouldn't want to enforce
No.
messages onto people who may not want necessarily to, but just here for. So Diane Johnson, she's saying
Yeah.
she'd love a message.
Yeah. Okay. Let's work with Diane. Oh, and we've
Okay.
got Deliciously Cavalier.
Yes.
What a name.
Yes. Yes. She's based in the US, and I just need to remember her name. I'm so sorry, darling. I know her. I can't remember. Stephen, it's me too as well. Stephen
Yeah.
is open for message.
Right. Okay. Let's work with Diane, because she got there first. So hello, Diane. So the thing that
Valerie.
oh, sorry. Oh, right. She just said
Deliciously
thank you.
Cavalier. The name is Valerie. So
Oh,
now I
Val.
remember.
Yes. So the thing that I'm feeling about Diane is that Diane is someone that is extremely thoughtful and insightful. I get the feeling that she's got quite a questioning mind, particularly about this sort of stuff, which is probably why she's here. But I do feel that she has a grandmother in spirit, which I want to go on to your father's side of the family, so your father's mother, and I feel with her that she, oh, interesting. So with your grandmother, I get the feeling that she had the capability of being aware of spirit. I don't know if you were aware of this, because sometimes people had that awareness and they didn't really discuss it. Diane, were you aware of that? But yeah, so I just get the feeling that she had that awareness and she had that interest herself, and I feel that oh, you never met her, okay. But she because I actually feel that she also lived in a different part, an area from where you came from, and I also feel with her that she, yeah, so I've got this I'm going back to this bit. I feel that she had the ability to see spirit and to be aware of spirit. And I get the feeling with you, Diane, is that you have that ability. Interesting. We were talking about what do you do when you have that ability, and where do you go and what do you do with it? And I just got, it's a theme, isn't it? You get those themes, but I just get that feeling with Diane that you have that ability, and I feel that the spirit world are wanting to pluck you out and get you really working with spirit. And I feel like you've been circumnavigating the subject and sort of dipping in and looking and observing, but it's almost as though the time is ready for you to sort of like jump in and sort of have a go, Diane, because it will be probably the best thing that you could ever do. But going back to your grandmother, I think they'll succeed this time. Yeah, I know you've been circumnavigating it, but I think with your grandmother, and it's her that's been giving me this information. She's been working with you quite closely as a guide, and I don't know if you're aware of that, but I do feel that she's quite close. She's a bit of a no nonsense sort of lady, quite sort of strict sort of person. I don't know if you knew anything about her. She was certainly, wouldn't suffer fools gladly. She was very sort of strict and was always the sort of person that would, if I said dictatorial, I think that may be a bit too harsh, but I feel like I'm leaning towards that way of being with her, that she's quite strict in the way she sort of does things, and yeah, and so I know, because I did know that she came from a different place from where you are. That's the feeling I got, and I also feel with her that she, it's like she ruled the roost, and she's married, and I feel she has obviously have a grandfather, and she was married to him, but I just get the feeling that she is the lady that ruled the roost, strict, quite strong, and could be at times a little bit challenging as well. But one thing I do know with her is that she is very, very keen to help you get started and work with spirit. And she's been assigned to you as a guide to achieve that. I feel quite excited for you, Diane, that this, it's like the door is opening for you, and she is guiding you through this door. You're going to, and I also feel with you that because I can see that you will be doing public speaking. So if I feel like you would be working on the platform in, doing demonstrations of mediumship, because I can see that. I feel that that's, spirit have an idea of where we want to go, and sometimes we can resist, but they have a way of bringing us round. Oh, you've been told that too. Okay. Well, I guess the spirit worlds want to tell you again and again and again. And but also I feel that there must be there's quite a few animals around you from spirit as well, because I feel like you're a big animal lover, because I feel like there's a dog and there's a cat, and I feel like there's lots of animals around you, and you've got a big heart. Oh, have you got a big heart? That you will always help other people, always, you're so kind, and I'm getting this all from your grandmother. She's telling me that and I just feel that you're, there's a lot of love and respect and compassion from the spirit world, and this message is all about helping you understand that it would be worth lots of animals. Yes, always helping people and animals too. Yeah, there's a big connection with animals with you. And I feel like there's lots of animals that love you. You seem to have a way with animals that just, they just relax with you. You have a unique way with them. But anyway, my point is your grandmother is going to be guiding you to this next stage of working. And I think it's, I think part of the reason why the spirit world has chosen you is just that you have so much compassion, so much love, so much, a big heart. You're a really gorgeous, gorgeous person. So exciting times ahead for you, Diane. Thank you.
Wonderful. That was so lovely. That was so lovely. So we had Val that wanted a reading, Stephen. I don't know if I saw anybody else. Anybody else would like reading?
Let's go to. Should we go to Val?
Yeah, let's go. I wanted to suggest Val earlier on, actually. Yes.
Oh, did you? Yeah, I remember you mentioning Val. That. Did you mention earlier on that she's from America? Did you?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, because I heard you say that. So, but I was just getting it that you're from a different country, and then I remembered that you'd said that. So, sometimes, yeah. So, I'll go public soonish. We can cross off the ish.
Ish. A bit quicker than ish.
Yeah. Right. Okay, Val. So I think part of the problem so I have a grandfather with me that is on your mother's side of the family, and I feel that your family come from sort of rural roots, from areas where it's not so built up, more sort of farming communities and rural sort of areas. Does that make sense to you? Let's see if she's. We've got further comments.
Let her to reply. I know some of the story of Val, but I'm going to let her reply and interact with you.
Okay. Yeah, so I just feel that there's those sort of rural roots, and because I'm seeing sort of like farming sort of area, and I feel that one of the problems with and I feel also that there is quite a when I look at your grandfather, I get this feeling of sort of a religious sort of way of life, and I feel that it's almost difficult to acknowledge spiritualism, because I feel like there's a sort of stooped religion and rural ways in your family. And I don't know where you live now, but I just feel that it would have been sort of quite difficult for you to have taken the plunge and sort of get involved with spiritualism. But I do feel with your grandfather that I feel that there's something, and I can't quite put my finger on it, that there's some pain there between you and family going back, and I feel that it hasn't always been hasn't always been easy for you in your family, and it's almost as though you've had to sort of step out of family life a little bit at times, and I just and I know with your grandfather, he makes me feel like he was quite patriarchal, you know, wanting the family to be, you know, this is how we are, this is what we do. And I just get this feeling that patriarchal sort of ways, and the sort of the ways of family life hasn't really suited you. And I get the feeling with you that you've needed to be your own person. And and I feel, yeah, no, they wouldn't. But I just get the feeling that there's a need for you to be your own person. But I feel like over the last few years, you have been coming into your own. And with your grandfather, he is making it clear to me that whilst he wouldn't support what, you know, who necessarily your lifestyle, he is saying to me that since he's been in spirit, he's a changed man, and he is looking to support and help you wherever you are. Does that make sense to you? I love the name, Deliciously Cavalier. She's not writing back. Okay. But I just feel that it's almost like you need to take one step at a time, and those steps are getting closer to your. Feel like this is about you being independent and taking new steps and being yourself, and not having people control you in the way that you've had that control in the past. And I just feel that you are going back to your grandfather because of, you know, his patriarchal ways and his the reason why he's coming through and letting, it's him that's telling me all this. The reason why he's doing that is just simply because he is letting you know that he is supporting you as you move forward. He's helping you be independent. It's like he's done a 180. Is that the expression, where you just take a different stance, take a different stance of the way you think and look at things, and is helping you be the independent person that you need to be. But I do feel that there's this sort of knock-on effect, you know, with him being patriarchal, sort of, you know, quite sort of strict and has to be this way. And I feel like, you know, your mum became, you know, was that person too. And so there was always sort of quite a bit of control around you. But the freedom that you have and you are walking in is just deliciously cavalier, is what I want to say. It's just delicious. It's just, you know, you are becoming you. And what's really nice about that is that your grandfather is helping you. I do feel that he has the guides behind him as well. So don't think for one moment that because he was the way he was when he was alive, that yes. But I feel like it came from the grandfather. It's like it's like that coming down the family sort of thing. And I feel, but he is helping you. He's helping you become independent and be your own person. And he's learned a lot in spirit. He's grown. And he's also saying to me that he has high hopes for this. It's like you're walking in steps of new frontier, new ways, new life. you know, being you. It's just absolutely lovely. And the fact that your grandfather is helping you and is lovely. But I get the feeling that the spirit world is working really hard with your mother as well, and they're trying to sort of like turn her around in the way she's thinking, but she's quite entrenched in her ways. But yeah, freedom for you is something that's so nice.
Mm-hmm.
So take it and grab it. Thank you.
Absolutely. That was really, really meaningful. And you know, it feels like that Val could take all of it by the comments she gave back. I also wanted to add, if I may, that Val, I feel that things weren't always smooth between yourself and your mother, and that way of being, her way of being, was a bit of a barrier between you and your grandfather. Somehow, I feel that. But there is the reason why grandfather now can work with you and be around you and guide you and give you all these wonderful words that have come through Gail, because now it's time to be exactly yourself, but also I feel that more and more you're learning, and you have learned to detach yourself from the family dramas, because I feel that that's what's been going on with you mainly, and the main reason why, you know, things haven't always worked out the way you hoped, if I may say. So so thank you, Diane. Thank you, Gail. Okay, right, wonderful. Okay, so I think that we're going to wrap up here. Um, Obviously, I am on StreamYard on my phone because internet broke down at home. It didn't want to work tonight. There was no way around it. And so we made it happen. Thank you, spirits, for your help and guidance and support. Thank you to Gail above all for the lovely, lovely chat, and for opening up our eyes on our cultures in terms of spirituality and practices.
And thank you to you for doing this.
Yes, it's an absolute pleasure to have you here, and hopefully we'll see you before the year end or beginning of next year again. We sort out the diary. I mean, I know that you're going to be in South Africa. Would you be open to do a live from South Africa, or maybe you don't know?
Yeah, no, I'm taking. I'll have my laptop and I'll have internet. So it'll be fine.
Okay, all right. So we will think of that. We'll you know, send you something. Meanwhile, thank you everyone. Stephen, Kim, Anya, Phil, Val, thank you for being here. And so next week we have a new entry. We will have Nicholas T. Soul Journey, and he works with higher dimensional beings, and he's a healer, he's a medium, and Nicholas is based in Canada. So it will be such a pleasure to have him on, because he practices a very special type of healing, and channeled through higher powers, higher different dimensional beings. And so, yes, that's going to be one not to be missed. Gail, what to say? Thank you again. Have a lovely evening.
Okay.
And we will be in touch, of course. Thank you, Christine. And we'll see you next week then. All right.
All right.
You take care, everyone.
Thank
Good night.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night. Good night.